Okie dokie. I believe we're live, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Business of Property on Property Development Australia. We have a star-studded audience today and also guests here. We've invited these gentlemen here who are star agents in each of their major cities. Cam from Melbourne, we have Daniel from Brisbane, Arvin and Navin and Aaron from Sydney and Kent from Perth. And the reason why we've invited all of you is to be able to get an idea of what's happening in your cities, But before we dive into that, I'd love for each of you to introduce yourselves.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we run our own company called Vin Commercial. We predominantly focus on the sale and acquisition of development sites across the Sydney metro regions. In particular, we sell predominantly across the lower and upper North Shore regions. So for us as a team, we've transacted over $170 million so far. And subsequently, we've opened our own business during COVID, which is interesting. But we've had, some more success there. So we're happy to share our story and what's sort of happening on the ground from that perspective.
Fantastic, thank you. And I've known you and Navin for a few years now, and to be able to see sort of your new brand come up, and like I said, during a time which is quite interesting, but be thriving as well is really cool to see. Love to hear more of that story and what's happening in the Sydney market. Cool. All right, let's start again. We're gonna do a bit of a roundtable. Tell us, the Vins, I'm going to call Arvin and the Vins, what is happening in the Sydney market? What's happened over the last, 4 months COVID times? And what are people buying? Because you guys are transacting and not just small numbers, like fairly chunky projects as well.
Sure. I mean, look, we launched during the COVID time, as you know, so we kind of had no choice but to continue what we were doing from our previous employer and really push on and get on out there. So for us, there was a little bit of uncertainty during the initial couple of months, which I think was uncertainty for everybody out there at that time. But for us, we decided to, rather than take on sites and push them out to multiple developers, we decided to see who was actually transacting in the market, who was there willing to do business, because there's quite a lot of interested parties out there, but there's not really a lot of buyers, which we found. So we were strategically putting certain sites with certain developers, and that strategy really worked well for us. So Sydney market, we think it's still good, it's still strong, and the developers that have been there for a number of years are still there and active, whereas the groups that have come sort of into the market and then out are pretty much sitting on the sidelines at the moment.
Okay. And who are they catering to? Like, what sort of, are they the downsizers? I mean, and what sort of stock? Is it townhouses or units that you're looking for?
Look, for us, townhouses are consistently sought after by developers at the moment. So the townhouse market is good because traditionally larger homeowners across the regions that we work in are homes of quite a high cost. The downside is there that they're looking to retain size, but encompass a bit of a saving from where they are. So townhouses are predominantly what we're doing. Thinking about the stock that we've sold, actually, it's all townhouse sites. So you would say that that's the cream of the crop at the moment. But again, boutique development size, apartments, 10, 20 units. The larger scale developers that traditionally would look over 100 are looking for smaller opportunities now, because we're just putting that down to the uncertainty as well. Wanting to have something secure in areas that are, I guess, established, not new growth areas, and something where they can keep their, as Naveen mentioned earlier, their teams running. Because if we look at it strategically, they can't really just stop doing what they're doing because COVID's there. And
Yeah.
as you know, Cheryl, they work to traditionally a 24 to 34, 2-month time scale from conception through to completion. So
Yeah.
we would hope by then that COVID would be behind us. Well, that's what
Hmm.
we're collectively thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. What I notice and what I'm hearing from everyone is that, I mean, when initially it all sort of hit, everyone sort of froze a bit and went, we don't know how to deal with this. This is not economic. This is something that we've never come across before in our modern world, well, at least in the 20th century. And but it got to a level where we're all right. We're still okay. Effectively, we're still okay, and you adjust to a new level of norm and go, all right, what can we still do in this current market? Because we still need to live somewhere. We're still growing. We know our needs are still there for living in whatever it is that we need to. So I'd be keen to hear from each of you where you feel, I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, but where you feel the opportunities are, and we're in a community of developers and buyers, investors, and where the opportunities are to be able to look out for and that you're seeing. All right, in the next 6 to 12 months, I think this is going to be where the buying is happening.
I guess I'll go for it. That's okay. Look, I mean, I think for us, from a what sort of, do you want me to sort of talk about locations, or do you want to talk about where the real benefits are going to be over the course of the next 12 months from a developer perspective? Because
Yeah, let's do the latter.
okay, well, look, in particular across the lower and upper North Shore regions, when we were putting together sites, so amalgamating 5, 6, 7 properties together, the deals were generally quite heavily geared in the vendor's favor, because
Mm.
they had some land that had been rezoned. It's in an area where there's not a lot of opportunity, and developers were having to really come to the party and put some good terms down, and to try and win that business, because there was a lot of competition. Whereas what we're finding now is that where the vendors had quite an emotional attachment there, they're now seeing that something like COVID, which is unprecedented, can happen at any sort of moment. They're now having to put their commercial hat on. So for a developer, over the next 12, 18 months or so, we really feel that, more feasible, suitable terms can be agreed with vendors. Vendors will be a little bit more open-minded to essentially protect that deal, which 9 times out of 10 involves a significant uplift in their value. And we think that there's going to be good negotiation there. For example, we've sold sites in the past where COVID has impacted the pre-sales off the plan quite significantly. Now, going back, renegotiating a little bit of an extension for those 6 months of lost opportunity, whilst the market's been a little bit of a struggle from that side. Again, vendors are granting extensions there and saying, look, we understand it's not exactly the developer's fault to have to foot, I guess, overall the burden that's been this COVID. So I think for developers, great time to get into the market, negotiate some good terms, and most likely be able to build in some flexibility into their option agreements or whatever style agreement they're looking to move into.
Excellent. And is that because the vendors are realizing as well that there may not be as many buyers as they previously had?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Cheryl, you're in the game as well. Yourself. You know exactly how many buyers were there and everybody fighting over anything. I mean, 2016 times 17, we could just sell anything, couldn't you?
You hang it out the window and it be gone. Yeah.
Developer, it was
Yeah.
crazy in Sydney. But now you have to be a little bit more strategic with who you're working with. There's not a whole bucket full of developers out there that can do it. As I said sort of a little bit earlier on, there's a lot of interested parties. I mean, we're getting a lot of inquiries, but whether they've got the capacity or willingness to actually put their money where their mouth is in those instances, to say, you know what, I'm going to go and do this regardless of COVID or not, is another story really. So you're working with a select few, and vendors in Australia. It's a very savvy country when it comes to people knowing about property and where things are going. But I think that when you get a developer that has a good track record, willing to offer a fair and reasonable deal where they can capture an uplift, that has said the vendors are having to look at it more commercially, because in the press there's just too many variables about what's happening. Everybody's got an idea. You just got to look at the deal as is on paper, I believe.
Excellent. Navin, did you want to add anything to that?
Oh, I think he made it very nice and clear about it. I don't think there's anything to add to it.
Excellent. Great team. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe. Be well. Thank you. Great session. Great info. We've got a few fans here. Nice work. Matt White. Woohoo, Cam. Go Melbourne. Get the first home buyers and crush it. Excellent. Good night, everyone. We
Night, everyone.
will
Nice to meet
see
you all,
you
guys.
all again soon. And ciao. Take care. Bye-bye.